Assalamualaikum Mbak Haya, sehat Pak Haya? Pak Rektor Ruby.
Salam. Sehat, alhamdulillah, Ibu Dokter.
Kok jarang ke UIN KHAS sekarang Pak, sibuk ya Pak?
Waktunya masih belum ada. Sebenarnya minggu kemarin ke Jember, tapi sudah malam. Ketemu Pak Kiai Rosyadi di rumah makan.
Assalamualaikum, Miss Dr. Laila. How are you today?
Dr. Zainul Arifin.
Miss Dr. Laila at Australia right now, or at
Amin. Pak, MOU-nya ada di saya, segera diambil.
Siap. Okay. Bu Laila to be moderator now?
No.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Dasuki. Mr. Dasuki, Mr. Haya.
Assalamualaikum, Kaifa halu?
How are you for today?
Yang membuat Dedi kayaknya kuat. Makanya orang juga wartawan banyak kok Dedi kuat banget. Nah, tapi mungkin mereka nggak tahu perjalanan hidup Dedi kan. Benar kata Bang Mas Adri, bagaimana
tinggal terus no background ini.
Mama, aku nanti sebentar deadline.
Tinggal mandi. Nanti mama online di sini. Ini
Bu Ilma sudah masuk ya?
Oke, sudah. Tes suara saya apa sudah terdengar?
Ya, oke, silakan.
Sudah sangat jelas.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'inu ala umur dunya waddin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Good morning everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here today in this wonderful place in Zoom meeting. My name is Ainul Huria Al-Malahim. and now I'm host in international lecture series in international collaborative research with Professor Tim Lindsay. And salam sehat selalu buat Bapak Ibu semuanya yang kami hormati. Tentunya selaku Counselor of the State Islamic University Kiai Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, Profesor Dr. Haji Babun Soeharto SEM.
Iya, yang UIN itu. Apa yang LPM, LP2M.
And Head of LP2M UIN KHAS Ahmad Siddiq Jember, Dr. Zainal Abidin, MSI. Tidak lupa juga kepada Kepala Pusat Penelitian yang ada di lingkungan UIN KHAS Jember, Kepala Pusat Penelitian Dr. Wildani Hefni MA, dan seluruh tim LP2M beserta jajarannya, dan Bapak Ibu semua hadirin yang berbahagia. Acara kali ini, mohon maaf, saya pakai bahasa Indonesia dan bahasa Inggris. And I'm so sorry because I'm not making virtual background because my laptop has a little problem like that. Untuk acara yang pertama ialah sambutan dari Ketua LP2M UIN KHAS Ahmad Siddiq Jember, dan yang kedua adalah welcoming speech dari Counselor of Islamic University UIN KHAS Ahmad Siddiq Jember, Profesor Dr. Haji Babun Soeharto SEMM. Dan marilah kita buka acara pada pagi hari ini dengan bacaan ummul kitab, berharap apa yang akan kita laksanakan membawa manfaat dan berkah. Al-hadiniyah wa ala kulli niyatin sholihah. Al-Fatihah. Oke, thank you. And then acara selanjutnya ialah sambutan dari Kepala LP2M UIN KHAS Ahmad Siddiq Jember kepada Bapak Dr. Zainal Abidin, MSI, kami haturkan.
Prof. Tim Lindsay belum masuk, Pak Wildan.
Will join us soon. Lagi.
Oke, tunggu beliau ya, beliaunya belum masuk. Baik, Pak Rektor sudah bergabung. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Amma ba'du. Your Excellency, Rector of UIN KHAS Jember, who always encourages us, the Institute for Research and Community Services, to always work harder and promptly within research and community service. Your Excellency, Professor Tim Lindsay, who is great and pleased to be here with us virtually to share knowledge and tips in conducting international collaborative research. The honorable lecturers and students participated in this webinar. Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who created this universe with all of the things within and has created humanity into nations and tribes to know each other and work collaboratively. We would be grateful that only for His love we can take part in the first international lecture series conducted by Research Center Institute for Research and Community Service, UIN KHAS Jember. Salawat and salam may always be found. The Prophet Muhammad SAW is the preeminent role model to cooperate with others, including in conducting international collaborative research. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the world is extensively massive in number as well as science. So international collaborative research provides an opportunity for us to broaden our perspectives about the world and deepen our knowledge according to our respective disciplines. In the Islamic higher education environment, the government, through the Ministry of Religious Affairs, has provided international collaborative collective competitive research since around 2014. The objective is to partner up in conducting research activities at reputable international universities, institutions, research institutions, writing in reputable journals, or making internationally reputable books of his distinctive subject and developing international research collaboration. Moreover, designing and conducting international collaborative research provides opportunities to generate knowledge, enhance the external validity of research completed elsewhere, extend the range of applicability of existing research, and develop mutually beneficial relationships that can solve global problems. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an excellent opportunity to learn from Professor Tim Lindsay. He is one of Australia's leading experts on Indonesian law and has advised government, businesses, international organizations, courts, and legal practitioners in Indonesia and Australia. He is a founder of founder and an executive editor of the Australian Journal of Asian Law. His more than 100 publications include Indonesia, Law in Society, Islam, Law and State in Southeast Asia. There are 3 volumes and his other works. So to conclude this speech, I invite the rector of UIN KHAS Jember, Professor Dr. Babun Soeharto, to deliver his remarks and officially commence the first international lecture series. Thank you very much. The last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Zainal Abidin MSI, for the welcoming speech. And then, before we get started, I would like to express my appreciation for the Profesor Tim Lindsay. Selo, selamat datang, Prof. Tim Lindsay. Salam kenal dari Indonesia ya, Prof.
Terima kasih, thank you.
And then, for further remarks by the Counselor of the State Islamic University, kepada Profesor Dr. Haji Babun Soeharto SMM, kami haturkan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Morning everyone. Honorable keynote speaker, Professor
Mikrofonnya, Prof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Good morning, everyone. Honorable keynote speaker, Profesor Tim Lindsay. Selamat datang via Zoom. Salam hangat dari kampus and team of Research Center of UIN KHAS Jember and distinguished guests. First of all, let me welcome you to participate in this webinar series. There are some points in this question that I want to share with you. Pada kesempatan ini ada beberapa poin, beberapa hal yang perlu kami sampaikan di dalam seminar. Sehingga kita semua yang hadir ini bisa menyimak, mendengar secara seksama terkait dengan adanya kegiatan seminar pada pagi hari ini. Number one, this international lecture series in provided by Research Center of UIN KHAS Jember is important to develop teacher professionalism for our university. Number two, we will support and push all university staff to do collaborative research and other academic activity to achieve international recognition. Number three, event like this will give benefit for university member and staff and improve strategy for international publication. Number four, we will surely support an activity that uplift, surely support an activity that uplift academic lives, collaborative research and academic publication. Five, this event would give benefit for teachers, researchers to publish the research funding in international journal and not keep him in the office. 6. Research that publication of the first step of achieve reputable academic life, and will uplift university in national or international level. Finally, I hope this webinar will give good contribution for academic life, especially research and publication. Good luck and have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sambutan dari Rektor UIN KHAS Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, Profesor Dr. Haji Bapun Suharto SEMM, and then leave it to the moderator to continue this event, and kami pasrahkan kepada Mr. Wildani Hapmi. Time is yours and we invite you.
Baik, terima kasih Ibu Ilma. I hope the sound quality is good enough for everybody, and we move to discussion with Pak Tim Lindsay. Before we start, I would like to inform everyone that we do hope that you all to mute the microphone, and I would like to start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar, this international lecture series. Respectable and honorable our rector, the Rector of State Islamic University, Kiai Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, UIN Kiai Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, Profesor Dr. Bapun Suharto SEMM, and the distinguished speaker, honorable and respectable our speaker today, Prof. Tim Lindsay from the University of Melbourne. How are you today, Prof?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining with us. We welcome you from State Islamic University, UIN KHAS Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, and respectable the head of Institute for Research and Community Services, UIN KHAS Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, Dr. Zainal Abidin MSE. First of all, I would like to thank to all audience and participants, and thank you very much for joining with us with LP2M UIN KHAS Jember. As we know that this international lecture series held by the Institute for Research and Community Services, State Islamic University, KHAS Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember, and it's honor for me to be moderator in this event. This good opportunity. This is very important event and very relevant with our dati as a lecturer in Islamic higher education institution relating with the research, publication, and community services. But we are very happy we have Pak Tim Lindsay as a speaker today, and as we know, this is the first international lecture series, and we invite Pak Tim Lindsay as the first speaker in our event. And we will continue to the next event. We will continue to the next international lecture series, and we will invite also the great scholars from overseas, from the great universities in the world, for example, from Europe and Australia and Europe. And I would like also to remind, before we start our discussion today, to remind everybody to mute the microphone all the time. And finally, if you have some question, for example, please write on chat book. You can write in Bahasa or in English. And if you write in Bahasa, I will translate to English, and I would like to give the question to Pak Tim Lindsay. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that Pak Tim Lindsay, as a director of the Center for Indonesian Law, Islam, and Society, we now in Indonesia, Silis Conference. Pak Tim, Silis Conference itu sangat familiar dengan kita, dengan teman-teman di UIN KHAS Jember. Mungkin beberapa dosen dari kami telah mengikuti SILIS, Center for Indonesian Law and Society. And I was met Pak Tim Lindsay last year in Melbourne when I was become a speaker at the SILIS conference at the University of Melbourne. And I would like to inform to everybody that Pak Tim Lindsay is a specialist in wide range of aspects, especially in Indonesian law. If we know Pak Askal Salim, Bu Nina Nurmila, Pak Mas Dar Hilmi, dan lain semuanya, Bapak Ibu, itu adalah murid-murid daripada Pak Tim Lindsay. Jadi kita menyambung sangat kepada Pak Tim Lindsay karena bidang kepakarannya adalah including public law, criminal law, commercial law, termasuk juga he also teach research about Islamic law atau Syariah. Jadi we are very close Pak Tim Lindsay because in UIN KHAS Jember we have one faculty, the name is Syariah Faculty. Jadi Fakultas Syariah yang memang menjadi basic dari kepakaran Pak Tim Lindsay. And today, in this good opportunity, we will learn and we will discuss with Pak Tim relating with research collaborative and also how to get published in international journal. And this is good opportunity to all lecturers in UIN KHAS Jember discuss about the benefits, about the motivation, and also challenges for the lecturers, how to get a grant, for example, in this collaborative research in conducting research and also publishing journal article. And as Pak Ketua LP2M said, that Pak Tim Lindsay, he is more than 100 publication. Jadi Pak Tim banyak karya-karyanya yang bisa kita baca, yang bisa kita kutip, kita citasi, dan juga bisa kita pelajari bersama. Karena itu sebagai informasi sebelum kita memulai untuk memudahkan informasi ini, kami sampaikan kepada seluruh partisipan bahwa ini adalah event pertama dari LP2M UIN KHAS Jember dengan mengundang para great speaker from overseas, from the great universities in the world, untuk kemudian kita akan menyambung pada seri-seri berikutnya. And for the first event, we are very happy because we have Pak Tim Lindsay, but unfortunately, Pak Tim Lindsay doesn't have any long time for us, only 1 hour, around 1 hour, and 1 hour we will use discussion and also question and answer. So Pak Tim Lindsay, is time for you, about 20 minutes, and we will continue question and answer.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Bapak Rektor UIN KHAS Jember, Pak Zainul Abidin, Pak Wildan Hefni, teman-teman saya semua. Terima kasih atas kesempatan ini. Sekarang saya akan pindah ke bahasa Inggris karena ini seminar internasional. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I have visited Jember before, and I look forward to my next visit one day when the pandemic is over, and to see you all muka ke muka, maybe sometime soon. Let us hope. Today, I'm here to talk to you about research collaboration, and in particular, how to get published in international journals. So let me share my screen. Oh.
Pak Ridwan, tolong dibantu untuk Pak Tim Lindsay make co-host. Wait for a minute about.
That's fine.
Pak Ridwan.
Okay, it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. 1 minute. Okay. Can you see now?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, it's very clear.
Thank you very much. So, just a couple of comments about publication first and why it's so important. It's important for your careers individually because it is the key to international recognition of your work, but it's also very important for UIN because international university rating focuses heavily on publications by academic members at a university. Dalam kata lain, a university is assessed on the basis of the publication of its academic staff. So the future of your university UIN KHAS Jember actually depends a lot on your own individual publications. It's also important because publications are what changes a teaching university to a research university. Research universities also teach, but they are at a higher level of recognition internationally. So if your individual staff members can increase their international publications, it helps transformation of the UIN Jember to become recognized as a research-led institution. So publication is important for each of you, but it's also very important for your university. That is a problem for academics in Indonesia because international academic publications are predominantly in English. That's a little different for Islamic studies where Arabic journals can be important, but other than that, international journals are heavily English-based, which is a tantangan yang besar sekali bagi para akademisi di Indonesia. The second problem is that publishing is extremely competitive. For every journal published, every article published, there are 10 that get rejected. So it is not easy to be published in a quality international journal. It is easy to be published in a bad journal. That's not a problem. Being published in a good journal is very difficult because it's competitive. So, publications, books are important. Chapters in books are also important, but referee journal articles are the most important because they are refereed, and that means they are seen as having peer recognition, that is recognition by other scholars who select them before they are published. And that is why journal articles are a key indicator for university ratings and why they are ranked more highly than other forms of publication. I myself publish books and chapters in books, as well as journal articles, but if your academic career is early, just starting, it's better to focus on refereed journal articles. So why do I know about this area? Because I have been the editor of an international referee journal called the Australian Journal of Asian Law. You can see it here, Australian Journal of Asian Law, which you can find online. I have been the editor for 23 years. That is what I feel like sometimes, chained like a prisoner in the editor chair. So because I've been doing this job in editor prison for 23 years, I have become very used to refereeing, editing, and the process of publication. So what I'm going to tell you about today draws on my own experience as editor of an international refereed journal, which publishes a lot of articles by Indonesians. So a few points. First of all, I want to say a little bit about the process, the procedure for publishing, because I think this is not well understood. The first point I want to make is it takes a long time to get published. It can take often up to 2 years between when you submit to when you are published. 2 tahun. Not always, but it can kadang-kadang take that long. So the first thing is that when you submit your article, the editors make a quick decision as to whether reject it straight away or take it to the next step. If it goes to the next step, then an editorial committee will read the article, review it, and decide if it goes to referees. So the editor first quickly checks the article, then it goes to editorial committee. And if they still like it, then it goes out to referees. What is the Indonesian word for referee? It's pengulas ahli, yeah? Yeah, so it goes out to the referees, the pengulas ahli. And in a good journal, there are 2 of those, at least 2. Sometimes there are more, sometimes 3 or 4, but at least 2. And the referees do not know who the author is. The name is taken off. It's called blind referee, so they don't know in a good journal. And of course, you, the author, will never know the name of your referee. So it is a secret process. They don't know who you are and you don't know who they are. And that means, because it's anonym, that means that it is objective as well. In a good journal, it is completely secret, blind process, we say, buta. So those referees then give a report, and that report is usually 1 or 2 pages, not longer than that. And that report will say accept or reject. And if they accept, then it goes back to you sebagai penulis, and you are asked to respond back to the referee's comments. And that means you have to revise or amend your article so it is sesuai dengan komen dari referee. Now, that will take you time. Sometimes it can take you 1 or 2 months to do that. But if you then send it back in again to the journal, and the journal agrees that you have satisfied all the referee's requirements, then they may offer you a publication contract. So there is, let's just count that, 1 step you submit, 2 step, the editor reviews quickly, 3 step, it goes to the editorial committee, 4th step goes to referees, the 5th step, referees reports, 6th step, you respond, 7th step, publication contract. It's a long process. Just this process can take 3 bulan sampai 1 tahun to get through that process. Okay, so you have to be very patient. And that brings us to our next stage. Now, once you revise it and they give you a publication contract, then the editors will once again review the paper for tata bahasa and English language expression and issues like that. And they will ask for more revisions. And they will tell you what needs to be done to change those to improve it. Then they review it 1 more time and give you final comments, and then you revise 1 more time. So this is your 3rd revision. By this time, you're really sick of your article. This is your 3rd revision, and then you may get published. And so that can take the fastest I've ever seen this whole process. Both the 1st and the 2nd stage is 3 months, but sometimes it takes 18 months, sometimes 2 years. Okay, so it's not just you press your email send button and it's done. You will have lots of emails back and forwards and lots of revisions. Paling sedikit 3 revisi before you published. Okay, so what do the editors want from you? And saya sebagai editor, what am I looking at as an editor? I'll tell you the most important thing. It's very simple. They want a clear, 1 single, very clear central argument. That's it. That's the most important thing, and it is the biggest problem people have. So they want to look at your paper and know straight away, langsung, what your argument is. It's just one argument, and it's very clear. It is not the topic. It is not a description of something. It's not a proposal. It's not a question. It might be expressed as a question and an answer, but it's not just a question. It must be the answer to the question. And it's not just a case study. So my topic of my article could not be UIN KHAS Jember. It could not be a case study of UIN KHAS Jember. It would have to be an argument about UIN Jember. Do you see the difference? So it's not a topic, it's not a question, it's not a gambaran, it's not a proposal, it is an argument. You are trying to say something about something, and you should be able to write your argument in 1 sentence. That is the core point that your whole article is making. You should be able to put it in just 1 sentence. Because as an editor, I will read the introduction, and if I don't know what your topic is, by the time I read the introduction, then it's not going to go. I'm going to say no. This means that planning is very, very important. You cannot just sit down in front of your computer and type. You have to plan before you write. And what you need is a very simple structured plan, and it should look like a daftar isi, or a table of contents in a book. Just one page. It should have the title of your paper and the argument you want to make in satu kalimat, and then you should number each section like bab in a buku, and that's your plan, and you should write to that plan. If you don't have this plan when you start writing, your argument will never be tightly structured enough and clear. So always plan before you write so your argument is clear. How do you structure your article so your argument is clear? Remember, the structure of your article is not based on methodology. It's not based on history that you're covering. It's based on one thing only. It's based on your argument, and only on the argument. So if you don't know your argument before you write, you can't structure it properly. This is the way that many academic articles are structured. Many of them begin with an introduction to the argument. It might be a pengantar, but it tells the reader exactly what the argument you're going to make is, what the big point is. The next section of your paper might be latar belakang, or it might be a literature review summarizing what the academic literature in the area says. It could be historical background, could be political background, or could be literature review, or it could be background and then literature review. But you need to deal with the latar belakang and the work of other academics early in the paper before you turn to your new data. So argument, latar belakang, literature, then you come to your data. And in most articles, there is not more than about 3 major points you make, sometimes 4. You don't have that much room. Usually an article is about 10,000 to 15,000 words long. And there's not really room in there for more than about 3 or 4 big points. So if you use a case study, you have point 1 and the relevant material or data that supports it. Maybe it's a case study, maybe it's a survey, maybe it's reading, whatever. Point 2, data. Point 3, data. And then you have your findings and your recommendations, if you have recommendations. If it was tentang hukum, misalnya mungkin ada
katanya ke dokter, gimana ceritanya?
Rekomendasi tentang reform di sini. And then you have conclusion at the end. So if you think about it, your introduction may be 1,000 words, conclusion may be 1,000 words. You've only got about 8,000 for this material, another 2,000 for background and literature. You've got 6,000 for your the real important part of your article. So it's not very long. You need to structure very carefully. That is why planning is important. I won't worry about that one. So argument is the first thing. The second thing is structure, plan very carefully. I say again, you cannot write a good article by just sitting down and writing. You must plan. When you're actually writing your article, here are some tips, some usulan for writing your article. The first thing is you need to try and make it interesting. So try and interest the reader in the big argument you're making with a hook. By hook is the expression we use. We mean that the writer is like someone who is fishing, munching, and you need a hook to bring the reader into your article like you catch a fish, a kite. So what is the hook? The hook is something, it may be an event, it may be an anecdote, it may be something from a newspaper. It is something, an interesting event that embodies the argument you're making. So if, for example, you were talking about religious discrimination against kepercayaan di Indonesia, maybe you would start by talking about the tragedi Monas or attack on Ahmadiyya. But you begin with some episode, some peristiwa at the start that symbolizes the whole issue, so that the reader reads about that and instantly knows why it's important and wants to read about it. So you try and find some way of making it interesting at the very start. Secondly, you problematize the argument by describing that event that shows the problem the article is trying to solve. And sometimes an anecdote or personal experience can be a good way to open the article if it's relevant, because it can personalize the issue. So, for example, I had a student writing about kekerasan rumah tangga in Aceh in a PhD thesis. And she starts the whole thesis with an interview with a woman who is a victim of domestic violence, kekerasan rumah tangga. And she just starts with kutipan from the interview about what this woman had been saying about her experience. So she starts with that's the first thing you read, and then you see there is a problem. And now she explains what she will do in the thesis. So my summary here is try and make the article interesting by starting with something that will summarize the big point you're trying to make. Maybe it's a peristiwa, an event, maybe it's a quotation, maybe it's a story. But the reader needs to know straight away what the issue is and why it's important. A few more tips that you need to think about. You must avoid repetition. Repetition is a big problem for people writing articles that they submit to our journals. And in Western style academic writing, repetition is death. Your article is dead if it repeats itself. This is a very, very big issue. So please be very, very careful. Do not allow repetition into your article. Hindari pengulangan. This is one of the biggest problems in the articles that we see. Mengulang-ulang berarti mampus. So don't do it. It is the death of your article. That means you need to provide the data once. Draw the conclusion from the data and then keep moving. So, berikan data sekali saja, buat kesimpulan sekali, lalu lanjutkan. Don't keep saying the same thing. It's very bad in academic writing. You can refer back, but you cannot repeat. So, dapat mengacu kembali pada data sebelumnya, tetapi tidak mengulang nyata-nyata. There's only one exception, which is the conclusion, where you have to repeat the argument, but be very careful to minimize direct repetition. So, pengecualian hanya berlaku untuk bagian simpulan, tetapi tetap harus berhati-hati untuk mengurangi pengulangan langsung. So please, no repetition, hindari pengulangan. It's a big problem, and it's one of the main reasons articles are rejected. As you write each section of your article, think about each section as though it is a mini article itself. Setiap bagian seperti artikel mini. So each section of your article has an opening, a point or a pesan with data, and then a penutup, just like the big article. So sekali lagi, setiap bagian seperti artikel mini dalam artikel overall pada umumnya. That's why planning is so important. Oops, sorry. That's why planning is very important. You have to plan the whole article and you plan each section so it's all flowing together. No repetition to support the argument. Some more tips. When you write the article, be very, very precise. Do not use words like give the exact names and places and dates. If you mention a name, give the full name. If you talk about a location, don't say Indonesia, don't say Java, say Surabaya, wherever it was. Give the exact location, give the full name, and say when things happened. Don't say pada era Suharto or pada era Orba. Give the year. And if you know it, give the date. Be very careful about using the word all or semua or seluruh. They are very dangerous words. Semua dan seluruh are very dangerous words in articles because almost all is not the same as all. Hampir semua is not the same as semua. Don't say all unless you really mean all, absolutely semuanya. Usually it's better to say many or most or almost all. This is a common mistake. People write and they say, all people believe. And then I say, well, I don't believe, so you're wrong. The next thing is do not assume knowledge. Jangan berasumsi tentang pengetahuan pembaca. You must explain all institutions, events, people briefly and fully. For example, the Western reader does not know who Muhammad Hatta was. If you mention Hatta, you have to give his full name and a footnote saying who he was and why he's important. So berikan nama lengkap dan terjemahan istilah atau nama Indonesia. Nama orang dan barang. Words like Orba, Hatta, NTB, KPK, Kemerdekaan all have to be explained because most readers will not know what they are. I do, but I'm the editor. The reader won't know. This is a very common problem for Indonesian authors because they think everybody knows Indonesian words and expressions and people. They don't. Referencing. You need to remember that setiap dan semua klaim harus didukung oleh bukti. And that includes well-known facts in Indonesia. Like, if you write Orde Baru didukung oleh Angkatan Bersenjata, everyone in Indonesia knows that. But you cannot put that in an academic article without a footnote and a reference to prove it. So every claim must be supported by evidence. And every source referred to must be referenced. If you reference a book, then you must give the nomor halaman. This is another problem in Indonesian writing. They give the author, they give the book or the article, but they don't give the nomor halaman. The page number must be required. This is called pinpoint referencing. Perfect referencing is essential. Perreferensian yang sempurna, sangat penting. International journals will not tolerate errors in referencing. There are lots of different referencing systems, so you need to familiarize yourself with the referencing system used by the journal. Most journals have their referencing system online. You can just look at it. But when you send your article in, make it comply with their referencing system. And the daftar pustaka harus lengkap dan akurat. Many Indonesians do just have a bibliography, a daftar pustaka that's not complete with all the sources used in the article. That's a bad problem. It must be complete or you will be rejected. Okay. I need to now mention one more thing, and I'll stop in a minute so we can have some discussion, but abstracts. Abstracts are very important to get past the first editorial review. The abstract is a kesimpulan, usually about 300 words long. Take the abstract seriously and spend some time on it, because it might be the only part of your article that the editor reads. If they read your abstract and it doesn't make sense, it's clear, they will probably just reject it straight away. So many penulis, when they write their article, just write the abstract quickly at the end. And that is bang. That is bunuh diri. Don't do that. Spend a lot of time on your abstract to get it right. Tidak lebih dari 300 kata, tapi harus mengidentifikasi masalah, perangkum argumen utama, pesan-pesan utama, dan studi kasus utama. Semuanya dalam 300 kata saja. And remember, you are trying to sell your article. You're trying to make it interesting to the reader. So as well as identifying masalah, argumen utama, pesan-pesan utama, studi kasus utama, it also has to be menarik. They have to know why it matters. So take time, do not just cut and paste kalimat-kalimat dari badan article. Try and write a new reference that summarizes it, and work hard at it because it's important. I just have two more things to say to you now. Draft, and then draft again, and then draft again, and then draft some more. What I mean is, no published article was ever written just one time. You need to menulis kembali, baca, menulis kembali, koreksi terus. Multiple drafts are necessary. When I write an article, it usually takes me 12 versions, between 10 and 12 versions before it's okay. And I will never send it off until I've revised it paling sedikit 8 kali, because it gets better every time. Actually, when you look back, your first version, versi pertama, is terrible. But by the time you get to 8 or 9 or 10, it's a lot better. So you have to accept it takes, when you think it's finished, you are just starting. You have to revise. So edit your own work many times. Here are some ideas for when you think your article is ready, then you have already membaca it. Now membacakan the article. Read it out loud so you can hear it. And you will often hear mistakes. Daripada membaca, membacakan. So you can hear the mistakes in the article and things that need to be corrected. If you're working on a computer, print the article and read it in hard copy. You will see things that you don't see when it's on the screen. Maybe you should call a friend, get a friend to read it for you and give you feedback. All of these things make it a better article. And as you revise and rewrite, you ask yourself, is it clear? Is it jelas? Is it interesting? Is it menarik? Is it new? Baru, original. What are you saying that is different? Is there no repetition? Pengulangan is fatal. And is it fully referenced and correctly referenced? Because as an editor, I read the abstract, I look at the daftar pustaka, and if they aren't right, I'm not even going to go and read the body. So they're the first things that the editor looks at, and so they're the last things you look at to make sure it's right. And be patient. Sabar. Good things take time. It's going to makan banyak waktu. You need to prepare for a long, slow process where you have to be very sabar. You can't do it quickly. Once you've written it, then the process for editing and publishing will take a long time. And especially for you, because English is your second language. Sometimes I publish writing dalam bahasa Indonesia in Indonesia, and it takes a long time because I make many mistakes. And it's very difficult for me to be published in Indonesian. So I know it's difficult for you to publish in English. But if you want to build your reputation, you have to do it. So be patient. It's going to take a long time, but it will be worth it. So thank you very much. These are some suggestions for you to take into account. And now I'm happy to take some questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Tim Lindsay, for the great explanation. And I believe that your explanation is very useful for us, for Indonesian lecturers, from Indonesian scholars, especially from the all lecturers in UIN KHAS Jember. And Pak Tim Lindsay already have give an explanation for us about the structure of how to get published in international journal, starting from introduction until conclusion, and what the great argument, how to build an argument, and also from how to introduce the topic or the background, or how to introduce the context in our introduction in publishing article journal. And then also how to make an outline or the debate in the literature review, because this is very important in publishing, in writing article journal, and also how we state our argument or thesis statement, because this is we found in Indonesian article the big problem is about we repeat. The repetition is something bad for us, because introduction, from introduction also move to the conclusion, and after conclusion start from introduction again, and this is very real problem in us. And the question now for us, for Indonesian scholar, about what makes a good introduction and what need to be there. And also, what about the structure, and how to differ between argument and introduction? Because an argument in Indonesian literature and Indonesian scholars is about a claim, and there is no evidences, only a claim, only perception from the writer, and we will find weakness in publishing article journal. And the problem is how to get published in international journal if we found some mistakes that Pak Tim already explained for us. And now we move to the question and answer, and I would like to invite the participant, all participants, to deliver directly to Pak Tim Lindsay into the Zoom, relating with how to get published in international journal. And international lecture series will benefit for us, useful for us, to Indonesian scholars, how to make a great article. Oke, mungkin beberapa audiens akan memberikan pertanyaan kepada Pak Tim Lindsay. Silahkan untuk bisa raise hand. I would like to invite some participants. But kalau tidak ada satu pertanyaan.
Two participants have raised their hands.
Okay. First, Pak Gulam Murtado, and then Pak Mukrimin from UIN Gorontalo, and setelah Pak Mukrimin dan Pak Gulam Murtado mungkin nanti langsung dijawab oleh Pak Tim Lindsay. Silahkan dua penanya, Pak Gulam Murtado, singkat dan jelas, juga nanti kepada Pak Mukrimin, dan langsung nanti dijawab oleh Pak Tim Lindsay.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Hifni, Wildan Hifni from UIN KHAS Jember, Mator Kasalangkong. Well, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gulam Murtado from State Institute for Islamic Studies, Metro Lampung, or EIN Metro Lampung. Thank you very much for the time. The Excellencies, Mr. Professor Tim Linsley from Australia. It's nice to see you, Professor. It's clear the statement from the beginning until the end of the session is very important for me. And it's given me a good atmosphere in terms of writing, especially in international journal. And this is my homework that is very hard really to solve this problem. Actually, I have many issues as the result of my research. Starting from 2019, I have I have an issues about the research of the title of the research is Response and Anticipation of Lampung Traditional Leaders, the development of the radicalism movement in Lampung, Indonesia. For me personally, this is I think it's a very sexist issues. But the problem is I already submit into the international journal in many places, in many journal, but unfortunately it's rejected. I think after I listen more about the material from Mr. Tim, the problem is because many things are not fulfill the requirement. I'm sure that. And I got many inspiration from a professor, and I will do a lot to, if only it is possible, I would like to discuss more about my article to Mr. Timms. Maybe give me some advice in other side. Maybe I make mistake, and if possible, I can get your email address. The second thing about, yes, I do agree about the language. It could be the problem of my writing is in English structure. Because my research is in Bahasa, I translate by myself in English, and of course there is a many weakness there, but I hope I will submit. I mean, before I submitting again, I need your advice more. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Tim. It's very clear. Thank you very much. It's nice to see you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. So I take the question from Pak Mukrimin now.
Oh, thank you very much. Good day. Good day, Prof. Linsley, and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Western Australia, and I'm working on. I just submitted my thesis on frontier formation in an Indonesian resource site. I'm focusing on Sulawesi, West Sulawesi, and also in Gorontalo. I base
good luck.
Thank you. My base in UIN Gorontalo. First, I got two notes here related to repetitive topics. Is there a suggestion from Pak Tim on, because, for example, in Indonesian context, for example, if we talk about Sharia, and I think it would be because for many long times ago, many people, many scholars, analysts, and so on, talk about the Sharia law, for example. Is there to make it more interesting, like we shift the locus of the context of Sharia, for example, what's the difference between in the context of Sulawesi and also in Japo and so on, etc. So maybe we need to know from Pak Tim about how to avoid repetitive topics. And the second, I think Pak Tim mentions very certainly on that patience is, yeah, since it's the most significant matters to mostly Indonesian, I would not say all, but I think many Indonesian scholars are lack of patience, and because we are not very sabar, we submit, we want to see it on, I think many people in here just submit it and then they want to look at the next week their paper, the article to be published there in the next 2 weeks, which is impossible.
In that case, publish in your faculty journal. That's quick and no one will read it.
I see. And then I think that's all from me, host. Thank you very much and have a good day, Pak Tim.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Pak Gulam Murtado dan Pak Mukrimin. Very good questions, and I think they show a common problem, and that is to identify the argument. Because, for example, Pak Gulam, your topic was about what is the response of traditional leaders to Islamic radicalism, something like that. As a journal editor, I don't want to know about the question. I don't care about the question. I want to know what the answer is. So my first question would be for you about the title. Instead of expressing your title as a question or a statement about the response, you should be telling the reader what the response is. So you should start with the answer to the question. So remember what I said, that a question is not an argument. A topic is not an argument. A description is not an argument. The argument is a claim, if you like, that is backed by data to support it. And that's what you need to emphasize when you write the article. So a topic, let me just say, it's just for example, that their response was violent, then your topic, I'm not saying it is, but just say that their response was violence, then your title would be something like violent responses to Islamic radicalism. You see, you're indicating what the issue already is, or maybe it's about resolving conflict, but you can't just give a topic that states, give a title to your paper that states a topic. You need to make clear what your claim is. Secondly, this relates also to Pak Mukrimin's question. There are so many articles on Sharia in Indonesia. It makes me pull my hair out. That's why I've got none. I can't read anything more that's called Sharia in Indonesia, because there's millions and millions of people writing on it, and it's not interesting, and would not be considered novel or original. What we need to know is what you're going to say about Sharia in Indonesia. Now that might be about a specific place like Sulawesi or Padang, I don't know. But even that's not enough. What aspect of Sharia are you going to talk about? Is it about Sharia economy? Is it about pernikahan? Is it about, I don't know, criminal law? And what is the point you want to make about it? So what about, maybe it's Islamic criminal law in Bukit Tinggi? I don't know. What are you going to say about it? And what's the big point you're making? So you need to focus on what it is your conclusion will be. The conclusion tells you how you express the topic. It's the conclusion that is really the core to the whole paper. If you don't know what your conclusion is, then you've probably got nothing to say. So again, don't tell us what you're writing about like Sharia. Don't even tell us where you're writing about. Tell us what you're saying about it, what the big conclusion you're making about it is. So you have to be very, very specific, and that will be of interest to a journal. Something new, something very specific and detailed, not something general and broad. Also, going back to Pak Gulam's question about the language problems, it is a big issue, and I understand how difficult it is. English is a very difficult language. Most native English speakers get it wrong. all the time. I have to edit native English speakers articles and they make mistakes all the time. So lebih lagi orang Indonesia. But if your English is too bad, it just won't get through. It has got no chance. You have to get to a high level. And when I write for an Indonesian magazine, dalam bahasa Indonesia, I pay someone who is a native Indonesian speaker to check my Indonesian for me because I'm not good enough. So I ask for help. And I think you sometimes just have to find a native English speaker. Maybe you have to pay some money to make sure they can check that your language is correct. That is a big obstacle, a big halangan, a tantangan as well. But unfortunately, it has to happen. So I would strongly advise you to get a native English speaker to check anything before you submit it. I know that's not very good news, but it is true. I just want to repeat my big message. Look at what you've written. Look at the conclusion. What are you concluding? What is your claim? What is the big point? That is the kunci for the whole article. It's not the area you're writing about, the bidang. And it's not the lokasi. It's the point, the argument you make. And people really struggle to tell me that. You know, I think Pak Wildan came to my class at the Stillis conference where I tried to get PhD students to tell us in just one kalimat what their argument was. And they always find it very difficult, even if they've been doing it for 3 years. And this is honestly, this is the biggest problem everybody submitting articles to my journal has. The data is good. It is interesting, but they can't tell me what their claim is. If I just say, if you can't say in one sentence, then you can't say in 10,000 words. Okay, I've got a little more time for questions, but well done. If he's there.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor. It's nice advice for me. Yeah, and I got the point that even my title, my research concentration is about response and anticipation of Lampung traditional leaders to the development of the radicalism movement in Lampung, Indonesia. This is,
okay,
I think,
just stop there. What is the response?
The response and anticipation of Lampung traditional leaders.
Tell me now, langsung, what their response and anticipation is.
Well, yeah.
Is it positive or negative?
Okay, based on the data I got from the leaders, traditional leaders in Lampung, that radicalism, it is not their habit and the habitual action of leaders, of traditional leaders in Lampung.
Good. Let me stop
but
you.
Lampung.
Just let me stop you. So how do they respond to that?
Well, the response is the Lampung traditional leaders reject the assumption that Lampung is the central of terrorism.
Okay,
because
stop there.
the traditional leaders.
Stop. So that is, if that is your point, that's what you should title your article. That is the kunci for the whole article.
All right.
You see, you've been telling me your topic. You only now do you tell me your claim, and I had to ask you 3 times to get that out of you. It's not a criticism of you, Pat. I'm just explaining the process. Thank you for being my
right.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to invite Prof. Masdar Hilmi to deliver something to Pak Tim Lindsay. Pak Masdar. Oh, sayang sepertinya sudah keluar Pak Masdar. Tadi menyampaikan untuk menyapa dengan Pak Tim Lindsay.
But well done.
Okay.
I can take one more question.
Okay, this is good opportunity for us to continue our discussion, but only one question. I would like to invite to all audience to give a question to Pak Tim Lindsay. Okay, the last question, Pak Tim. As I said before, how to differentiate between argument or non-argument? Because in introduction, we are very difficult to find a good an argument.
I think when I write an article, the last thing that I write is the introduction. It's a bit crazy, isn't it? I write the pembukaan, the pengantar, I write that last of all, terakhir. And that's because you can't introduce something when you haven't written it. You need to know what you are writing before you can introduce it. So I plan it, I write my article, and then I do my kesimpulan at the end. And then I can write my introduction. Because I only know my claim and my argumentasi utama when I get to the very end. So it's clear. One of the big problems is if you write your introduction first, you are probably just going to menggambarkan bidangnya dan topik secara luas. And that is not good. You can't really give a very specific introduction to your argument until you've written all of it. So my advice to you is write your introduction last. And in the introduction, tell the reader what will be your claim. Now, to answer Pak Wildan's question, there is no difference between a claim and an argument. They are the same thing. And the claim and the argument are the most important part of it, because we know your data will be good. We know your research will be good. But what we don't know is what you want to say about it. So the research and the data are like the pondasi, the landasan. And on top of it, you have to build a structure, and the atap is the claim. And all the data supports the atap, the claim. So the data is not actually important. You have to have it. It holds the house up. But the roof is the claim. So the data is not the claim. It's a different thing. You have to tell us the claim, and then you can indicate what data you will use to support it. So maybe I put it like this. Lebih baik menulis introduction atau pengantar terakhir sesudah menulis semua bagian artikel lain termasuk kesimpulan, baru menulis pengantar introduction. Karena sebelum menulis badan artikel dan kesimpulannya, Anda pasti belum tahu secara dalam klaimnya apa. Poin utama ialah apa. Itu mengapa lebih baik menulis introduction sesudah menulis semua bagian yang lain. Karena hanya itu bisa membuat Anda mengerti klaim Anda secara dalam. Dan dalam introduction, yang dibutuhkan ialah kesimpulan dari klaim dan data yang mendukung klaim. Itu sudah cukup. Nah, kalau ada suatu peristiwa atau informasi yang menarik, yang bisa menarik pembaca untuk membaca artikel itu juga bisa dimasukkan dalam introduction. Tapi fungsi utama ialah menjelaskan klaim dan semacam overview dari data yang akan dipakai.
Like, is it enough or more explanation from Pak Tim? how about the time? Maybe we know that Pak Tim is very busy.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm happy to do a question to use one.
Okay, and
No.
this is.
Yep.
I would like to write. Maybe this is the last question. What is the meaning of novelty? Some scholars suggest that every article and every international, international journal should be novelty, a great novelty. What is the definition of novelty, Pak Tim?
Okay, that is a very good question. What I think, just 1 minute, I just check one thing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's good. Okay, so when they say novelty, they don't really mean novelty dalam arti pembaharuan. What they really mean, and is a better way of putting it, is contribution to knowledge. Contribution to knowledge. That means you are adding something to the body of knowledge that already exists. Now that might be a little thing, or it might be a very big thing. It might be that you think everybody's understanding of a particular issue has been completely wrong. Or you might agree with their understanding of the issue, but you want to show how it is applied in a situation that no one has looked at before. But you don't have to be, discovering a new theory, discovering a new area of science. You don't have to. You hanya harus ada kontribusi, semacam kontribusi pada pengetahuan umum. So originality it's not pembaharuan, it's not semacam revolusi. It's just something that no one has done before. For example, my colleague, Pak Gulam, was talking about his work on traditional leaders in Lampung. So the question there is, have other people written about traditional leaders in Lampung? Probably. Have they written about traditional leaders in Lampung reaction to Islamic radicalism? Maybe not. Or if they have, what is he saying that is new about that? Actually, I just correct that in the chat. Kontribusi, not konstruksi. Novelty is not the best word. Contribution to knowledge. Contribution to knowledge. And you can state that anywhere in your article. Probably, it is commonly the case that people state what their contribution to knowledge is in the introduction, but it doesn't have to be there. It might be in the conclusion. But people worry too much about this. It's not a major component. It's really just showing that you're not writing something that somebody else has already written. So contribution to knowledge dalam arti ini berarti bukan cut and paste. It's a relatively low level. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you. It's very interesting. It's very clear. And I would like to Pak Sabto Wahono ada ya?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Pak Sabto, I would like to give you an opportunity, only 1 minute or half minute, and Pak Tim will answer your question and also including a closing statement. Kami persilakan Pak Sabto, setengah menit.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Tim. I'd like to ask some questions for you. I often find the title of the article that the name of a country as a place of research. You know that, and then I give example that you know that Indonesia is so very wide and has many provinces, yeah. And then, for example, I give a title of the article, for example, language and domestic violence in Indonesia. It is just example, yeah. Does the word of Indonesia have to represent all the region or province in Indonesia? It is my question. And the second is what
just say that again. I didn't quite hear the last bit. The quiz.
Yeah, I give example of the title of article. Yeah, I just give example of this. Language and domestic violence in Indonesia, for example, like this. Yeah. My question, does the word of Indonesia have to represent all regions or province in Indonesia? Yeah. And the second question, you know that the last of your presentation must be patient, yeah, for this, must be patient. My question, what do you think about the term of fast track in submitting the article in a journal? This is my question. Thank you.
Sorry, your second question. What do I think about what?
What do you think about the term of a fast track? Yeah, fast track in submitting the article in a journal.
Yeah, sure. If they will do fast track, that's very good. You should do that. It's a good idea, but it's not very common. To go back to your question about the region, the location, it really depends on what your claim is. For example, if your claim is just about one part of Indonesia, like you might be writing about, for example, Yogyakarta, then it's a bit crazy to talk about Indonesia because your article is not about Indonesia. Your article is actually just about Jawa Tengah. So, you know, I would say language and domestic violence in Central Java. I would not say Indonesia there because, or you could say language and domestic violence, a case study from Indonesia. Studi kasus dari Indonesia. But you need to try and be as precise as you possibly can. The more general, the worse it is. It's always better to be exact if you can. And really, in that article, I would ask you, what are you saying about language and domestic violence? Because that should be in the title. You know, how language creates domestic violence, or language as a remedy to domestic violence, or whatever it might be. And then you have studi kasus dari Indonesia. I'm trying to push people to say what their claim is as early as possible. So if you're writing that, one way to write an article is you start by saying what everybody else has said and then show how you'll be different. So I might say, for example, that all these scholars have said that judges in Indonesia are not corrupt. I know that's crazy. In this article, I will show that they are corrupt using data from the South Jakarta District Court. You see what I mean? Yeah. So you start with what people have said before you, sebelumnya, and then you show how your article will take a different position, and then you say what your data is. So if I was writing that as an article, I would call it something like, are Indonesian courts clean, ? A case study of the South Jakarta District Court. And then I would start off by saying, previous scholars have argued that Indonesian courts do not have a corruption problem. However, this article shows data obtained through field work in the South Jakarta District Court that shows clearly that bribery takes place in this court. So already 3 lines in the first paragraph, and the reader knows exactly what I'm going to say, what my claim is. They know what my data is, and they know how it's novel. It's different to what people have said before. And it's very specific.
Okay, thank you, Pak Tim Lindsay, for your explanation. I think this is great presentation from Tim Lindsay. There are many questions coming from our audience in chat book, Tim Lindsay, but I would like to inform to the all audience because we don't have enough time, and because there are many activities Pak Tim Lindsay in Melbourne University, and now because we are different time between Indonesian time and Australian time, so maybe this is enough for us in our discussion. Tapi memang banyak yang menginginkan materi nanti dari Pak Tim Lindsay akan kami share jika itu diperkenankan Pak Tim Lindsay. Kita akan meminta untuk izin Pak Tim, apakah itu berkenan atau tidak.
Boleh.
Boleh, nanti akan kami kirimkan. Hanya memang penjelasan Pak Tim menggunakan bahasa Inggris itu yang kemudian agak bukan bermasalah, tapi tidak dipahami secara komprehensif karena memang ada, because English is a second language for us, Pak Tim. But we will continue this seminar, this international lecture series with scholars, and also maybe we will continue in another event with Pak Tim Lindsay, and we will continue the discussion about the international, the getting publishing and getting international journal, published in international journal. And Pak Tim, we are from the Institute for Research and Community Services from the State Islamic University Kiai Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember. We are very happy and we would like to thank you very much for joining with us. Di tengah kesibukan Pak Tim telah menyempatkan kepada kami, dan salam dari Bapak Rektor from Surabaya, because she still in Surabaya, tidak ada di Jember. Salam juga dari Bapak Ketua LP2M kami, Bapak Dr. Zainal Abidin. Bapak Ibu semuanya, kami menyampaikan terima kasih atas partisipasi bergabung dengan International Lecture Series yang diselenggarakan oleh LP2M UIN KHAS Jember. Barangkali bukan waktu yang tepat untuk saya menyimpulkan pada sesi akhir ini, tapi kita semua patut memberikan aplaus kepada Bapak Tim Lindsay, ucapan terima kasih dan apresiasi setinggi-tingginya, walaupun aplaus itu tidak bisa disampaikan karena kita berada di rumah masing-masing. Dan banyak konstruksi pemikiran, bagaimana kemudian strategi model penulisan artikel jurnal yang disampaikan oleh Pak Tim Lindsay, lalu kemudian bagaimana cara membangun argumen yang baik, ada strategi juga untuk menulis introduction di akhir dan lain sebagainya. Semuanya very useful for us, Pak Tim Lindsay. Also, I would like to thank you very much for your time, for your good contribution. Terima kasih, dan kami menyampaikan kepada para audiens untuk mengisi form Google Form yang telah kami sampaikan untuk kemudian nanti mendapatkan sertifikat secara otomatis masuk ke email masing-masing. And I would like to inform again and again that this international lecture series will continue in every 2 weeks or every month with us, with LP2M UIN KHAS Jember. Jangan lupa untuk mengikuti international lecture series yang akan kita gelar dalam beberapa seri ke depan, dan juga pusat-pusat yang lain, ada pusat studi gender dan anak, ada pusat studi moderasi beragama, ada pusat pengabdian, ada pusat studi halal, ada pusat pengembangan bisnis di LP2M. Terima kasih, dan kami akhiri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Tim.
And
foto bersama dulu, Pak Wildan.
Just one
foto
thing.
Bersama.
Harus semangat dan sabar dan nulis. Semoga sukses.
Okay, thank you.
Terima kasih, Pak Tim. Kita take 1 minute and taking picture together. 1, 2, 3. Ada 4 slide ini, oke, yang terakhir. Baik, terima kasih pada Bapak Ibu semuanya. Mohon maaf jika ada kekurangan dari kami dari LP2M. Kita akan bertemu pada kesempatan berikutnya dengan menghadirkan para narasumber-narasumber hebat yang lain. Thank you, Pak Tim.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Jangan lupa makalahnya, Pak Wildan. PPT sih. Selamat Pak Wildan menjadi dosen teladan.
Jangan lupa
Thank you. Thank you Pak Wildan. Thank you.
Pak Sabto, keren.
Quality.
Ya
Makalah
gantian.
apa makan? Tanya makalah apa makan?
Makan baik. Ya wes yuk. Oke. Makasih
Makan
semuanya.
sama kalah itu satu kesatuan untuk melengkapi.
Nggih, Ibu Rektor. Sehat, Bu?
Alhamdulillah, dengar suaranya Pak Wildan Hefni sangat luar biasa, sukses, langsung sehat walafiat.
Tadi Pak Rektor keren juga loh, Bu.
Oh, Pak Rektor tuh nggak pernah nggak keren.
Selamat Mbak Alvis.
Saya foto tadi
Selamat
Pak Rektor
sukses.
itu.
Mbak Alvis.
Ye, sami-sami. Panitiannya Pak Wildan ini.
Undur diri dulu.
Bu Ermas istirahat, sehat.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Selamat beraktivitas Bu Alfi.
Pak tunggu.
Thank you Pak Wildan.
Ada orang ngalah.
Pada Pak Wildan jela.
Matur on Nyai Rosati.
Di mobil Pak Haji, ini di mana nih Pak Haji?
Luar biasa itu Pak Tim itu.
Pak Haji Rosadi biasa di luar, Bu. Bu Prof.
Iya.
Tenang, di mana-mana tetap konsen ya, tetap konsen. Siap.
Sip. Undur diri. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam Mbak Alvis. Ayo.